Good afternoon, everyone. It's almost evening, but we're not quite there yet. Welcome to World of Sport TV. Got another fantastic show lined up with Warren Barton coming on to discuss the transfer window. What a legend for doing this again. I've pestered him enough, so he's probably a bit bored of us, but there you go. We'll just do a quick shout out because I've been asked to do this to Dylan, who lives in Rugby. His dad said, give my son a shout out. He enjoys your show. He works for Aston Martin, so thanks for watching, pal, and being a fan. We really do appreciate it. The usual spiel, guys. If you are enjoying anything that you watch on this channel, please hit that subscribe button. Please consider being a member. The link is in the chat if you want to do that. And this is the charity we sponsor, Sports Trader, where tonight, every donation that's made, 50% of it will be going to that charity. And I've also said to Warren behind the scenes that I'm going to donate £50 as well to a charity of his choice in the Northeast, and he's chose the Sir Bobby Robson Foundation. So that's incredible. So all the donations, most of it will be going to charity tonight. So if you are feeling generous, please donate by using the dollar button. And there's the sponsor for the channel, Northern Soul Photo, guys. So if you want to get a lovely print in the Northeast of us famous landmarks, please check that guy out because he's really good. Now, I know you're bored of my voice, so let's bring the guys in. Obviously, everyone wants to hear from Warren, not from me. So good morning, Warren.
Good morning, gentlemen. It's been a busy, well, I was going to say 3 or 4 weeks, but probably about, for your guys, about 48 hours of non-stop TV. But yeah, pleasure to be with you.
Yeah, it's been absolutely fantastic just watching Sky Sports and actually living in hope that we could actually sign a player rather than the last 14 years of watching it and going to bed early.
Yeah, basically.
It's been mental. So let's have a quick look at the new signings. So there's a lovely picture of them all together. I love stealing pictures offline. It's great. Unbelievable 5 signings. There's the figures. 46 million for Bruno. These are in euros. Chris Wood, 33 million. Trippier, 17. Oh, it's dollars, isn't it? Dan Burns, 17. So Warren, you'd be used to these figures then. And Matt Targett on loan. I believe he has an option to buy in there as well, which is good because he's quite a solid left back. But Warren, in the last 14 years, that's just a dream, isn't it? Looking at those figures.
Yeah, when Trippier comes through the door, the owners, we must say first and foremost, have actually stepped up, which is great. We thought from day one, where they come in with a silly thing, and we spoke about this, gentlemen, didn't we? Even about cleaning the windows in the stadium, taking care, speaking to the fans, and now they've actually put their money where their mouth is. When you've seen the transfer window, which is obviously a difficult window to be in, to spend more money than Juventus and Barcelona. And Liverpool, etc., speaks volumes of their belief. I think their trust in the fans. And I did say that the honeymoon was over because the fans have supported them. They've been great. They've been going to watch the women's game. They've been coming to every game, watching it. But it's great when someone actually invests. And when you look at all these players, I think it's the right fit. Trippier come in. He's a leader. He's got genuine quality on that right-hand side. Bruno is one for now and the future. Anyone that's not seen him, just go and have a look. He's a Brazilian international. He played in Lyon in a high level. And the other players are good Premier League players. And one of them's a local boy. So I think they've ticked every box that we would have wanted. And we spoke off air, Baz, about saying, well, we could have gone and spent 300 million. The right time to do that. The time now and the hard work starts now with these 5 coming in. Don't forget, we've got Wilson coming back. Fraser's looking a bit of the player that we wanted. Shelby's kicked on. Joe Linton's kicked on. Obviously, we was heavily linked with Costa and other players. Jesse Lingard pushing the boat out. But what I liked about ownership is that they didn't get bullied and just throw it away for the sake of it. I think that was always going to be the problem, is that it's City, it's Newcastle. I can't believe we're saying in the same bracket. Chelsea, we're going to charge 10 million more than what you would do if it's a team from Spain or a team from France. And they said no. You're not going to take the advantage. In the summer, obviously they've identified players that they can go and get. I just think and I've only spent a brief time with the ownerships at the FA Cup game, the Cambridge game. They had a plan and they had an idea and they had everyone was on the same page. We need players, and when I say I'm on the same page, I mean the coach, the scouting system, the owners of these are the players that we need. Now, if we've got a chance to get a left back, centre half, midfield player, etc., we'll go with it. I think us as fans was getting greedy, thinking, well, we want to get this one. We want to get. I mean, we've got 5 players, and I was lucky enough at a time in June 1995 to have myself, Les Ferdinand, David Ginola, and Chaka Hislop. The 4 of us went straight into the team. I think these. Well, I don't think these 5 will go straight into the team. And as I echo, the 3 of them understand the Premier League. 2 of them have obviously been playing anyway, and the other one is a top class player. And it doesn't take too long for someone like him to gel. So to say I'm delighted is an understatement. To say, we're optimistic is another statement. But also, we've also got to realise that it ain't going to just happen. We want it to happen overnight, but it's got to happen quickly. And I think that was the sensible thing of not getting maybe young players for the future. It ain't about the future now. No. Wood is not about 8 years away. Wood is about now. Getting us over these 8 or 9 games. When Wilson comes in, when someone else can come in and help him, that's what it's needed. And I think the fans, 99.9 of them, will be absolutely delighted when you think 4 months ago what we was going through. But we get greedy, don't we? We get greedy, and then we go and get someone like Tino Asprilla and David Batty. So, but that's exciting. But let's just make sure now the pressure's on. With the money that's been spent for Eddie, the pressure's on. And it was starting to get a little bit heated because he'd had 10 games. We'd only won 1, and Steve Bruce was getting a bit of stick, and 1 or 2 fans, and rightly so, were saying, "Well, hold on a minute, we're 10 games in, and we don't seem to be better off point wise. I think we're better off morale wise, system wise, fitness wise, togetherness wise, all them things. But we don't care about that. We care about winning games. But now they've had a nice breakaway. And I think we're all looking forward to seeing what's going to unfold going forward. What the owners have done is give us a hell of a chance to stay up. A hell of a chance to stay up. They've not left it unsure. They've said, here you go. And they pushed for so many, Craig Hope and people on the Chronicle. You could see that they was trying to get Lingard. They was trying to get 1 or 2 in. But they wasn't going to be, it wasn't going to, it's a topic term. They wasn't going to be mugged off. They wasn't going to be took advantage of, and I'm quite pleased of that because people have done that too long at this club. So now we've got a chance, and that's great news. I've got to say as well, because you're saying hello to people, it's Rob Lee's birthday.
It is Rob Lee's birthday.
He's 56 years of age. He looks about like he's 66, but he's 56 years of age, and I would say arguably signing Newcastle have ever made, pound for pound as a player. When we talk about transfer windows and players coming in this day, I think for the value that you got out of him, his geography wasn't great. It wasn't top of God's list. He wasn't sure where Newcastle or Middlesbrough was. He'd never been outside the M25. But now I think it's his birthday, so wish him happy birthday. And pound for pound, the best signing that club ever made.
Yeah, definitely. Birthday to Rob Lee. I bet his knees are about 88 as well, aren't they?
Hey, his wallet's about 80 years old. He's never took it out.
Brilliant. I love Rob Lee. My mum's favourite player, to be fair. You've got a big fan.
You should have said to your grandmum. You should have said your nan. It would have been devastating.
I love it. You've got a fan in the background. We've got mods who watch the chat and make sure things are deleted that shouldn't be said. And he's basically said, can you do me a favour and say hi to him from this Barton fanboy? I'm 32. Tell him I really wanted to be there, but as I'm sure you can understand, I've got to prioritise my footy training. So he's a massive fan. He's basically said if you ever met Alan Shearer, he would cry, and he'd probably cry if he met you as well. So he holds you in high regard.
I appreciate that. He'd probably cry with boredom with Al, but yeah, I'm on a roll at the moment. So
you are, aren't you?
I'm on a roll. I'm in a good mood.
Nobody's safe. Everyone, duck. I love it. So the transfer window started with this guy, Kieran Trippier, and this is everyone thought he would be the marquee signing, the guy to start the ball rolling, to get bigger players in to his standard. When we first saw him play, we could tell he was a cut above anything we've ever had at right back, left back in the last 14 years. Obviously not including yourself there, Warren. You're right up there. Quickly redeem myself. His stats are unreal. I mean, his chances created at right back is almost as good as a midfielder. His recoveries, clearance and tackles won. As you can see, when it's in the 90 minutes, he really does contribute to the team. But the one thing he does bring as well is a calmness on the ball, Warren. I don't know if you've noticed that when he's been playing, he just looks the part. He just looks head and shoulders above a lot of the players that were actually playing in the last few games, especially the Cambridge game that you were at.
Yeah, I did an article. The first signing was always going to be a tough one, and it went on. It was a bit of a saga. It went on a bit because the first one is arguably sometimes the most important. And as I said in the Newcastle program, no one can question that he's a proper player. He's an international player. He's a good player. He's fit. He's hungry. He's just won a Spanish title when normally Real Madrid and Barcelona are in it. Arguably being coached by one of the most tactically astute coaches with Simeone. He's come back and left all that, what he feels. And again, Simon Jordan may have his say about money and whatever. But people Aguero and company and Yaya, they didn't go to Man City for the food and the weather. They went there for the money and the project. And that's what Trippier has come. And give him the armband when we was away. But I think you're right. The calmness that he has on the ball. But the first thing that I noticed with him was organising the back line. I know we got beat against Cambridge and people say, well, that's ridiculous. But he wasn't timid. He was shouting at the back line. He was organising them. He was getting up. We know about his delivery. We know about his fitness. We know about his quality on the ball. But that leadership role that he's took on board of being part of a leader was instrumental. And then other players looking around would say, yeah, he's a good player. I want to be part of that. They meant business. When you signed him, it wasn't like an unknown kid from France that's got great potential. It was like international player. He's a good player. He's just left all that for this. And then another one comes in. And then you start going to a Brazilian international, a New Zealand international. Then it starts going a knock-on effect. And I think his calmness on the ball, I think he's influencing the game. As you said, as a fullback, he influences the game because of his energy. He gets in very, very good position. And a little bit, because we didn't have a striker against Cambridge, he was a bit reluctant sometimes just to put a ball in. In the other games, he's got it out of his feet and he's whipped it in because you've got Wood. You're going to have Wilson. Sam Maximum can make a run around the back post. Then you've got midfield players, Joe Linton maybe getting the second ball as it gets knocked down. I just think it's a tremendous sign. And as I said, he's a proper player and he's a good human being in the sense that he wants to do well. He wants to take this club forward. And I said to him as well in social media is that the fans will love you now for doing that, for being the first one and coming in, not hesitating and I'm not sure. He went, no, I'm in. I'm all in and I'm going to make a point of it. And the fans will love him for that. And I respect him for that because I know how hard it can be sometimes to say, well, what's happening? Where am I? No, I'm in. I'm all in. I'm coming in and the rest will follow. And I think that was a statement in its own way to other players to go because he is a proper player.
I know. Aside from that, he's also got massive leadership qualities, hasn't he, Warren? I mean, even at the Cambridge game, dragging the players out of the tunnel to go and clap the fans who kind of paid the minute to go and watch, and they were disappointed, obviously. But he dragged them out, and they all clapped the fans. I mean, that showed kind of lots of leadership, didn't it, mate?
Yeah, I tell you what, but the players follow him, showed him they respect him as well.
Absolutely.
It was like, okay, you know what, we've messed up here. We've got to go out with him and do it. And it's easy to run away and. I've had to do it before where you walk in the length of the field and you're going to get a bit of stick, but you've got to appreciate the fans first and foremost for being out there. And he understands, for me as well, like Eddie showed it as well, quite early on in their career at Newcastle, they get it up there. They get what it means to play for Newcastle. They get that it's not just about putting on the shirt. It's what you do as well. It's how you show things. And again, going back to the ownership, it's a crazy thing and people laughed at me, but cleaning the window, it meant something to us. It meant something that they actually fucking cared, rather than throwing all money around. They wanted that anyway, but it's like, no, they care about the place. They care about the city. They care about the people. And if you show that care and respect to them, which has never been shown in 14 years, they will support you through thick and thin. And I know that for the 8 years or 7 years that I had up there, they support you through it. And that's a big, big advantage that we've got now is to make St. James's. And even when it wasn't going great with the Watford game and the Burnley game that we had, they were still behind. There wasn't the groans, the moons, the thing. They was trying to rally the troops. Maybe not the Cambridge game because there was so much hype beforehand, but they stuck with them. And I think that's something that we can. And I said to you before, gentlemen, I think it's the first time. Well, it is the first time in 14 years we've had the fans, the owners, the players, and obviously, the coaches going in the same direction. There's always been a bit of friction somewhere along the line. Now it's down to the players and the fans to pull us through it, and there's no doubt they can do that.
I think it's longer than 14 years, Warren, if I'm completely honest with you. I mean, we probably go back to maybe Sir John Hall when the entertainers were around. It's probably when everything gelled together, and then bit by bit it just kind of disintegrated, didn't it? And then it came to...
Well, we had a kick start with Bobby. When Bobby come back, then 2 or 3 years, the Brett Pack sort of started running the changing room, which wasn't ideal, and then you had problems. But for them, that 3 years when Bobby first come in, he made sure myself, well, we knew as well, Speedo, Al, Shay, Rob, Nikos, then younger ones coming through, that he made sure that we was in line with the fans. And, he started that going, and then unfortunately that it fell away. But they got us back in the Champions League. What I'm saying, in 18 months, from being a team with Ruud Gullit, really not really going anywhere, he got us back in the Champions League really by signing Kevin Gallagher and Craig Bellamy and Laurent Robert. Really, if you're being honest, I know we had a little bit of a South American influence coming in, but it was really them ones that took us to the Champions League. So, it can be done. But, I just like it always with Bobby, because I think that period sort of gets a little bit forgotten because it went straight into anarchy and disarray a little bit.
I agree. Next signing to come through the door was Chris Wood. You've mentioned him quite a few times. As you can see, his attributes, he's very physical, very good in the air. The rest of it's a little bit poor, but he's a target man. There's nothing else about him other than a target man, really, in my eyes. And he can finish, which is something obviously we were so desperately needing at the point when we signed him. As you can see from the stats, his passing accuracy, he doesn't cross the ball, obviously, because he's the one in the middle, doesn't really dribble with it. But he gets in the box and scores goals, and you can see his contributions in 90 minutes to Burnley. 34% of the goals were through Chris Wood. 8% of the chances were created through him. His shots on target with 27% of the actual 100% of the stats that Burnley have in a game. So that little dartboard there at the end tells you everything you need to know about Chris Woodbury, because he literally is the man who's on the end of things, and that's the idea of his all-round play.
Absolutely. It's just a case of getting style of football with our players to suit him, and that's the job of Mr. Howe, isn't it, Warren?
I think he gives you another option. It was must needed. Leeds away, it was always going to, but he won the aerial battles there. As I said, now with the fullbacks that we've got that like to put the ball in there, he will get on the end of it. I mean, I think over the 4 years at Burnley, he got into double figures every year, which is, not a easy accomplishment to make. And it reminds me, a little bit of Big Duncan Ferguson. Maybe Big Dunk was a lot better with his feet and maybe a bit more terrorising in the air. But that sort of outlet that he'd give us for a little knockdown for a midfield runner for Joe Linton, you can hit as a fullback. I knew I could hit Big Dunk, and he'd give you a little second chance with maybe Speedo pushing in, or we had Al as well, Al making another chance. So it just gives us an option, because of course we want to play football out the back. We want to, but we ain't in that position at the moment. So it gives you an option as a team that, if we can pass and then we can play, fantastic. But if not, we are going to go into him. We relieve a little bit of pressure. And I think he did a hell of a job against Leeds. He backed in, he made it difficult. And I also think defensively, he can help us out, because sometimes we looked a bit vulnerable at the back with set pieces. He'll come back and has a physical presence. I mean, I played with a guy called Mick Hartford at Wimbledon later on in his career, but he was such a great outlet. I mean, Mick was a tremendous professional and a good player, but he would make sometimes a bad ball and a good ball, and he'd get a foul and relieve a bit of pressure as you can get up the field. It's not in the Pep Guardiola textbook, but it's must needed sometimes in a game to get you to a level, and then you can go to another level and go forward. And I said this before, gentlemen, some of these signings are not going to be there for 4 years, 3 years. He might only be at Newcastle a year, and thank him for that and move on and have an opportunity somewhere else. But we needed someone like that at that time. And again, the ownership didn't hesitate. People will say, well, Burnley have had a result. They've sold him and got someone, a Dutch international in. But we needed that. We needed someone to come in and do a job. Now, if he can do that for the next 7 or 8 games and win with some games by his effort, his commitment, his desire, and put the ball in the back of that, it's worth its money in gold, because that will give us a foundation to build on. I was lucky enough when I went back to Cambridge. I spoke to Brian Killer, when he first come in. When Newcastle was at the bottom of the old First Division, possibly going to get relegated. Killer come in and give him a killer instinct and a hard work and commit, and he did what he needed to do, and they love him up there for that. And I love speaking to him about that, because it was like he relished that opportunity. I think Woods would be the same type of player. When we look back in 5 or 6 years, you might say, you know what, that fella did us a good job. He'd give us everything. He fought. He put himself around. Now we're hopefully in the Champions League, European football. That someone like him did that for us. And, he's got paid good money, and we had to pay a lot of money. But in the bigger picture, I think he can do what we need going forward. So, yeah, I'd have someone like him. I like him. I like him in the change room. I think he's got an effort about him, and you can rely on him. You need reliable players. You can't all be Alan Shearer. You can't all be David Ginola. You can't all be that. But you need someone that's going to stick your foot in and put your head in there and chase a lost cause and get us a throw in and get us a corner and get us a free kick and give someone a whack when we need to and go from there. That's the modern game. That's the top flight game. It's everybody has to chip in.
There's going to be a lot of people, Warren, thinking I'm bribing you, because that's pretty much what I've been saying for the last 2 weeks since he signed. I'm thinking, Barry's got Warren in his pocket here. What's going on? Because I've been sticking up for him and everyone's like, no, I'm not sold on him. No, he's this and that. I said, but if you watch the Leeds game, he put himself about, and we've never had someone being able to do that.
Yeah, listen as well. He is going to miscontrol the ball, because that ain't his game. And he's touched. I mean, look at Lukaku. We say with him when he went Man United, the ball's bouncing off of it. Okay, that's a fault. He needs to work on that. Look at the other things that he does. Look at the other side of the game. And as a coach, you have to look at what. So I think we always get caught up as players as well as analysts and what they can't do. Have a look at what he can do. Take away what he can't do, and don't worry about that. Worry about what he can do, and then get the others to be his legs to get hold of the ball. Simplify his game for us. And again, it might only be for this year and the beginning of next season. Who knows? But I think he's an honest fellow, and he, as I said, he has got a tendency to put the ball in the back of the net. I can't wait for him to get his first goal. And I think from there he might end. Listen, if he gets 6 goals before the end of the season, that's enough to keep you up. Hopefully.
I completely agree. And I said at the end of the Leeds game, I noticed ASM was actually starting to play 5 yards off him and starting to actually realise, if I get close to him, I'm going to win things off him. Even if he miscontrols the ball, if it comes in my area, I'm fast enough and skillful enough to make something of it. And that's what I know it's not exactly the greatest football in the world when the ball gets punted up, but it's a danger. And it's another way of playing the game, isn't it?
Yeah, it's an outlet. It's an option. Pep come in and change the face of the game, but sometimes you'll see Edison smack the ball, 70 yards into the corner, and whether it's Mahrez or someone getting on the end of it, it's must needed sometimes in a game, and we're not nowhere near that level yet. But give the fella a bit of credit. He will put himself around, and he'll give everything for the cause. He'll give everything. And for some fans, that may not be good enough, and I know that because I give everything, and I still get hammered. But it is what it is, And at the end of the day, if you put your head on your pillow and say, "Listen, I've worked as hard as I possibly can and give everything," 220 games later, it's not a bad thing. So you've got to keep persevering and believing.
Yeah, completely agree. Now we get to talk about the best signing of the window for me, Bruno Fernandes. What a player he's going to turn out to be. And even now, for me, he transforms our midfield. He's physical. He can pass the ball. He looks forward. He can run with it. He's basically got everything we need from a centre midfielder. That passing success rate of 90% is just unreal, considering where he plays. And if you look at the little graph with where he plays the ball forward, left, right, back, for having a 90% pass rate, for getting the ball out wide and going forward and hardly ever backwards is a feat in itself, in my eyes. And you can also dribble with it as well. His dartboard looks fantastic for a young kid. And he literally, Warren, for me, he is the guy who's going to not just only stop leaking goals, he's going to get us on the front foot a lot faster, making sure that people like Shelby and ASM don't have to run as far back. And we're going to be more dangerous because we're going to be higher pressing because of this one player. I think he's that good.
Yeah, he reminds me, Gilberto Silva, in Arsenal got that type of player that keeps the game simple, but I think with Bruno, he's got more of a range of a pass. And again, it's people say, well, it's only in League One, but that's a tough league to play in. And he's playing for a good team that he was playing. And he is one for now and the future. And the 5-year deal. And again, there was, if the rumours are right, gentlemen, that there's not a clause that he can leave. He's a Brazilian international, 24 years of age. And again, it's not that he'd been playing in Flamengo and then we sign him, a little bit unknown, but he's still a Brazilian international quality. He's been playing in European football. You know, he's been playing at a high level for a number of years. Leon have always had a great understanding of finding top class players and develop them into, and he ain't there yet, but into a world class player. The age is magnificent. The fans are going to love him in the sense that he can. And someone asked me, "What do you think about?" He can do it all. He can tackle, he can pass the ball, he can run forward, he can score goals, he can take free kicks, he can put his foot in. I know we're building him up, but that's how highly I recommend him and rate him as a player, because I think there's a glint in his eye that he wants to be a superstar in the Premier League, and I think he's an outstanding signing. Really, I don't know whether you agree. I've seen enough of him, but I think he can take the Premier League by the scruff of the neck and be, you know, maybe in 18 months' time, one that we're talking about. Well, what a player we've got in the Premier League.
Well, what you get with what I've seen of him is you kind of get the whole of Brazil in one player. He's got the skills, he's got the tricks, he's got the kind of work that the players like Dunga did. You know, the hard work as well, the tackling, the passing ability is phenomenal. And you got all those kind of in one player. To me, I think £40 million is an absolute steal for someone of that kind of, with them kind of attributes, really. And for someone that's in a team that's in 19th place to 18th place to achieve that, decided that player, it's just an unbelievable, phenomenal signing. And hats off to the owners for actually pulling that off and selling the club to him, because it's obviously a big sell.
I think also as well, it's like and you're right there, Billy. He's like a new Brazilian player. You know, when I played, it was all about Ronaldinho flicks, tricks, nothing, and that's great. It was like everybody Brazilian could do it, except the one that we bloody bought. Fumac, we got the one that couldn't do it, but you know, everyone else had that ability. He can do it, like Fabinho at Liverpool. You know, he can break things out. Gilberto Silva, as I mentioned, you know, when he was at Arsenal, not only could he break things up and tackle, but not flick and do the Brazilian things, he could also be a little bit of a destroyer as well. So, yeah, I'm really excited about watching it. I like the thing about his dad as well, the taxi driver. I think that's a great story. I think that's something that he will push and be a story in the Premier League. And I think that's another, you know, good story behind it. It tells you a little bit about him and his family. So I think that's great that we can do that. So yeah, I think we're really excited, and I think he will adapt to the Premier League quite quickly. He's a good size, you know. Normally, you maybe think a smaller player and a little bit slight. It's going to take him. You know, he looks a good player. He looks like he plays with a smile on his face, and I think the fans will love that. You know, they love that look. They, you know, time will tell. But I remember Tino. They love Tino because the fans could see themselves in Tino, like just doing what he wants and having fun and, you know, doing what, you know, he wanted to please them, and they loved him for that. And, you know, I see that same sort of mindset in this player as well, hopefully.
Yeah, I completely agree. I mentioned I think he's a bit of a mix between Tiote and Cabaye. You know, you put those two players together and Bruno's what comes out. To be their love child. So now we're at the halfway point. Very quickly, just say again, if you're enjoying what you see and you enjoyed this show, enjoyed the channel, please hit that subscribe button. Link to be a member is in the chat if you would like to consider being a member. And any donations made today, 50% of their donation will be going to Sports Trader. They're a UK charity, but they're opening a shop in the Northeast to help disadvantaged children get sports gear to create a level playing field for them guys to basically go and play football, hockey, whatever they want to play. So please, if you are feeling generous, hit that donate button. And I've said I'm going to give £50 to the Sir Bobby Robson Foundation on behalf of Warren for coming on again for the second time. I feel like a stalker now, but he's enjoying it. That's the main thing. And the sponsor for the channel, Northern Soul Photo Guy, please check him out. He's going to donate a few more prints through the year to us to give away to our members for free. So please check him out if you want something for the wall or for a garage or whatever you need it for. that's that rubbish out the way. I hate doing all that, but you've got to do it.
Well, listen, it pays the bills. You know, it pays the bills. You've got to do it. You forgot about the young boy that works for Aston Martin.
Oh, he only gets one shout out.
Okay, well, he has to donate then. If you want some more, got to donate to charity.
Exactly.
Do that. If you want a shout out, then you got to donate. But if not, I'll have a nice Aston Martin if he's got one spare. If he's got one handy.
Love it. So the next one is Matt Targett. He came in the door on transfer deadline day. Bit of a left field signing. We never really heard much about him until the last 48 hours of the window. We were linked with a lot of quality left backs, Digne being one of them who went to Villa. So basically, we've took their player of the season last year on loan with an option to buy. And to be honest with you, I'm quite impressed with him. He's nothing flash going forward, but the situation we're in, we need someone who can battle, we need someone who can defend, and someone who can contribute every now and again up at top of the field. And let's face it, if he's playing left back and ASM's playing on the left wing, which John Beresford would know a lot about when it came to Ginola, he's going to be having a lot of work to do defending. So he's probably the right option, Warren.
Yeah, and also with Lewis having a bit of a tough time with his injuries and getting his form back. He had one good game, then he's dropped out again, and we haven't got time. But what this fella is reliable. You said last year with Aston Villa, he was reliable. Knows how to defend, knows definitely how just to support his wide players, whether it was with Jack Grealish last season, just give him the ball and let Grealish get on with it. He understands his role in the team. I think it's a real shrewd signing. I think it's a clever signing. I think he's very underestimated. It wasn't too long ago, and I'm not saying he's at that level, but he was knocking on the door with England, predominantly maybe because there's not a lot of options out there, but I think he was someone that's reliable in the Premier League and playing. And can perform. I think he gives you good balance, obviously. But I do go back to that word, and maybe it's someone like this. He's reliable. He's reliable. We know we might get, and I hate this tempting fate on someone, but you're going to get your 30 games a season out of him, and they're going to be at a decent level, And I think going back to what we said with Wood, not everyone can be Alan Shearer. You need these players, and I think he's going to relish. Villa's a big club, got good fan base as well, big stadium. So he's not going to be overruled by St James's Park. I think that's another thing. It's if you've got him from, a lesser team, then the expectations are not high. But Villa's got high expectations as a football club. So I think it's a very shrewd signing. I'm impressed with him. Another one, gentlemen, that can go straight into the team. You've not got to bled him in. You've not got to wait and see how he reacts. You know that he's going to go in and he'll give you a Dennis Irwin, a 7 out of 10 every single week. And now, if he can give you a little bit more in a couple of games, so be it. If not, just do your job and let the others get on with it. I like him. I like players like that.
Absolutely spot on. Migs, thank you very much for the first donation tonight, the £5 super chat. Glad to have you on the show, Warren. Everyone is hanging on your every word. That's why we got him on. He knows what he's talking about. Come on, I know my stuff as well. So everyone, I say 50% of all donations will go to charity tonight. So if you are feeling generous, please dip in and do your best. So Dan Burn, the last one, again, not a sexy signing is what a lot of people have been saying. But look at that physicality compared to everybody else we've looked at. He's very, very strong. He's 6'7". And that video going around of him getting a high five off Aguero when he brung that ball down at the Etihad, or the Etihad, I should say, was absolutely fantastic. Again, he's for me, he's a no-nonsense centre back. He doesn't like to pass the ball out to the left because he has been playing left back. So those stats look a little bit strange because he plays the ball out to the right, but also likes to go forward. He's a threat in the box. Is he better than Lascelles, Warren? Because a lot of people are saying Lascelles should be dropped and we should be playing him alongside Shaw, because Shaw was immense against Leeds. I don't know if you agree with that. But
Shaw was really went up in my estimation. I always felt he was a good player, but I always thought there was a bit more. He's a bit like cruise control, a little bit glides through the games. But I think he really, it's another option. Two things as well. You mentioned it, the physical presence, the height of him, and being a local boy. That's something that the fans can relate to and want, and understand that what he means. He said, as a kid, he used to sit there and watch Alan play, and So he understands the expectation, and sometimes that's difficult for people like Lee Clark, you know, and all their families from there, and Steve Watson being Geordies and Robbie Elliott. But he seems to be like Lee Clark, and that takes that pressure on board and quite likes it. Obviously, another thing that tells you a little bit about him, how he left Brighton by their social media that thanked him for his service and wished him well. There was no hard feelings. There was no animosity. That he seems a good guy. So that tells you in the football club, around the club, speaking to people in the offices, he's a good fella. He's a good guy to be around. And he made it clear he's happy there. You know, they're doing well. They play good football. And he was an instrumental part of that. So, but like he said, it was an option that he couldn't turn down to come there. We could have gone and got maybe Costa, that's a bit more cultured on the ball. I still think Vern can play on the ball. I think he can, you know, get the ball down and play. But Costa could have maybe not took a little bit more time. Again, going back to what I said earlier, a bit to adjust in the Premier League, get used to being in the North East, you know, get his family, you know, all these things that, you know, you have to get done very quickly. It won't with him. He'd go straight in. He'd probably go in his mum and dad's bedroom, spare room, and get settled in there, be around the family and all that's around there, and get straight into it. So another one that I think is a good signing. It's one that we needed at the back. Jamal now has got a problem. You know, he's got to perform well. And listen, and you know, some of the abuse that people get, personal stuff is out of order with Jamal, Steve Bruce, the personal stuff. But I've always said it, and I got abused. They're only having a go because you ain't playing well, or they don't feel you're doing your job, and they being the fans, they've got every right to say it. The personal stuff is wrong, and that goes without saying. But Jamal's got to play better. And I said before with the armband, and it would not be a disrespectful thing for Eddie to take it off of him. Just say, look, just focus on being a defender. Don't worry about taking the mascot out and flicking a coin and all the other stuff that goes with being a captain of a football club. Because I've done it. I've done both sides. I haven't been a captain. And then when Alan was injured, I was captain for a couple of years once he got over his injuries. So you have to take that. He just needs to focus on being a player. Now, again, a couple of years ago, he was one of them players on the fringe of being an international player or getting called up. The Burnley game was good. But, you know, at the moment, he's overthinking it. And we ain't got time to have a player that overthinks his games and gets pulled out of position or doesn't clear the ball well. It may be to kick up the backside he needs, that he maybe does get left out and someone else comes in and they win a game and he gets that appetite back. That will tell you about the player. And I'm sure in training, if I'm there with Eddie, I'll be saying, let's see how he reacts to a new player coming in that could potentially take your place. Because I had Andy Griffin coming in when Rude bought him. I had Aaron Hughes coming through with Sir Bobby. So, and Kevin Keegan, Kenny Dalglish brought him in. It spurred me on. I didn't want to leave. So I wanted to play harder and train it. So it may be the kick up the backside that he needs, Jamal, because, you know, he can be a very, very good player in the Premier League. But at the moment, sometimes he can be a little bit, and I hate you, a liability, because the Premier League will go for the weakness, the weakest link in the
swallows
team.
You up, doesn't it?
Yeah, and they take their chances. So they pull him out of the hole, he'll get pulled out of it, they go into where he's left. You know, that's how ruthless this league can be. So hopefully it's the first thing that I said, where it's a kick up the backside. He rolls his sleeves up and says, no, I'm going to be back to a no-nonsense defender. I'm going to hit it because he's an athlete, he's strong, he's quick, he can command the ball. Don't do what you did at Brighton, trying to play out the back and give it to John Jones, because that ain't your game. That is not your game, son. You're not Van Dijk. I'm sorry, not everyone can. Do what you're good at. There's nothing wrong with that. I had Darren Peacock, Steve Howard. Just do what you're good at. Good players, and just made a good career about being, particularly Darren Peacock. You know, Steve was more comfortable on the ball, but Darren was, give me it and I'll let it and kick it, and and he was tremendous for Newcastle, Darren Peacock. So again, but I do like the signing. Going back to it, I think it rings a hunger and a fight that he know exactly what we need. And when you look at all them 5 players, they seem to me all to be good characters. Trippier, we know. Wood's a character. Bruno, we know. You know, you go through them. They're good characters, and we need that in a relegation battle, because let's not forget we're still in a relegation zone and we're still in a battle. Yeah. And Watford have made changes. Everton have made a change. So you know, let's get back to business now, because 5 signings ain't going to happen. You've got to do it on the field.
Yeah, completely agree. Everton have for me, got a very good midfield. 2 midfielders, Dele Alli as well, 40 million for him. Crazy. Very quickly, Brian Hicks, thank you very much for the super chat. Great listening to Warren Barton about this club. He is a Geordie, shaking hands. That's gone off the screen somewhere. Richard Rafferty as well, thank you very much for the £5. A £10 coming from Gary Hannett, thank you very much for that. I still say Almiron can make that threat with his legs and ability, but who is your favourite player now that stands out, Warren Barton, in our new built squad under Eddie Howe?
I do like Trippier. I mean, maybe it's relating to
where you play,
where I played. I'd love to have a word with St. Maximin as well, because he gets these step overs. Don't do that. Just run at people and take people on. Don't keep starting, fighting around. Just get past someone and cross it or have a shot and things like that. I think I would have a lot of fun with him as well, because I think he's a player. I think he can change a game. He's a match winner, but he's doing all these step overs. He's like going to fall over sometimes. You ain't got to complicate it, son. Just get out your feet, knock it past him, because you've got great ability. I like Wilson. I think I'd like to. I think, if I was him, I'd pick up the phone and just say, Alan Shearer, can I just meet you for a coffee in Newcastle somewhere, and just give me an hour of your time of what I need to do and where I can get better. I know Al works for Match of the Day, but I think personally, Al would see a lot of things that would help him out. So yeah, Trippier, but I'm really excited with Bruno. I'm really excited with him. Maybe I'm pinning my hat on him too much, but I go to Trippier because I think he's got the whole package of, obviously, one, he's a good player, and as a proper player, he's relished the opportunity of going to Newcastle. He wants to be a leader. He wants to be a winner. And he understands what this club is about and what it could be and about challenging. So I think when you put it into that, like the gentleman behind you, Sir Bobby, he had the whole package. People always ask me, who's the best manager you played for? Terry Venables was fantastic coaching-wise. KK was brilliant when we was doing well. But if you want anyone to manage, it would be Sir Bobby, because he just knew the whole lot. He knew the media, he knew the fans, he knew the field, he knew the players, he knew the tea lady, he knew the fellow that parked the cars, he knew everybody and knew how to treat everybody. So there we go. And he was good with kids. He didn't like them, but he was good with them.
He did like them. He's good with great. I love it. Say hello, pal. You've gone shy again. He's not shy. He's really not. Are you, Jacob? No, you're not shy. Another good little super chat, £10 again. Thank you, Barry Ling. Love Warren Barton and the Entertainers. Great show, lads. Thank you very much for that. He's obviously got a little bit giddy because people are leaving the house now, so he wants attention again from his dad.
You haven't told us what's going. You haven't told the viewers what's going on. We know, don't we, Barry? We know what's going on.
Yeah.
You haven't really informed the audience, if we've got anyone watching, what that noise is in the background and why you decided to work for an hour, which is, I'm a bit embarrassed for you, really, to be honest with you, Dad.
So the missus had her work friends, Ram. She works in a nursery, so you can imagine, what it's like. It's all kids talk. I've had my second child. That's me done. No more talk of children. So yeah, I decided to do a podcast. But again, Warren, you said 6 o'clock, so it's all on you, mate.
Okay. Well, we can go now, so you can go back to the wine and cheese, talking about handbags and shoes.
The wine and cheese, I love it. Yeah. It's definitely all gone now. They've all left the house, thank God.
Oh, right. The music will start going on now. Don't worry, they start dancing.
Oh, you are on fire today, aren't you? So that's the players. Let's have a look to see what the team could look like. This is what we predicted, wasn't it, Billy?
Yeah.
Dubravka in goal, Shaw and Byrne at centre-back, Trippier and Targett at left-back and right-back, Shelvey and Grimeles in the middle, Joe Linton, and then St. Maximin, Fraser, Wilson. Personally, I would like to move it around a little bit and play a 4-2-3-1 potentially. That's what I would like, because I think Joe Linton's found his place sitting in front of the back four, and he's done so well. I wouldn't want to take that away from him. And if he had Bruno next to him as well, that'll raise his level even further. What do you think of that, Warren? Do you think that's the perfect team for us now, or would you tweak it a little bit?
No, I would tweak it. I think, and also it's horses for courses. Certain games, I think you could play 2 strikers with Wilson. I also think you can play a diamond in midfield with maybe Bruno being a little bit deeper, and then you've got Joe Linton, as I said, that seems to have found this number 8 position where he can get a little bit further forward. I think, you have got the work weight of Fraser. So Maximum as well could be that free spirit where he just drifts around. So, I do think that you can play, like we said with Wood, it gives you another option, another way of going. But I do think the 2 strikers can cause people problems. And if that means maybe a Maximum on that left and Joe Linton on the right and maybe 2 midfield players, I think you'd be a bit careful to play Bruno and Shelvey always together, because I think they both want to do the same thing. So one of them's got to complement, which would be Shelvey. I would say he's the one. But like Eddie's come in and he's transformed someone like John Joe Shelvey, who we know he can play. I always felt he wanted to prove how big and strong, and he's not a fighter. He's not a David Batty or a Vinnie Jones. He's a good football player. Go and play football. Don't fight and snarl and get sent off. I think you're right with the back 4. I think they're right there. But also you've seen it with Eddie in the past. He does like to play 3 at the back, so it gives you that chops. And both fullbacks or wing backs are quite comfortable playing that. Trippier's done, and that's one thing I said about Trippier. Not only is he a good fullback, he can play wing back on the right or wing back on the left or fullback on the left. So it gives you that option. But I've always liked 2 strikers. I've always liked 4 at the back, and then it's a way of getting the players in a position where they can influence the game. Maximum will always play because he's your X factor, and then you've got your signings that have come in with Bruno, and it's finding that balance in that midfield area. And I think where Eddie did really well against Ellen Road, he got his subs right. I think brought the right people on at the right time, and we picked up 1 or 2 injuries, and he was able. Now he's had a bit of time with the players to put someone in a hole that can do your job. So yeah, I wouldn't disagree with that lineup, but also it all depends. Do you play at home? Are we going to play on the front foot, or do we go away to somewhere where we might have to play our way into the game at Man City? So if I always play against Man City, I'd play 2 strikers against them because they want to play out the back, and I would make them do what Edison wants to do, is like hit the ball 30, 40 yards and deal with it there, and then have people in the hole to try and hurt their fullbacks as they leave the space. But that's all ifs and buts, that's what we love about the game. But you know what I think, gentlemen, we've got options, which before we'd say, well, Trippier comes in, that's where he's playing. Wood comes in, that's where we get Wilson back, and we get other players that are banging on the door. It will give Eddie an opportunity to play. And sometimes as well, as a coach, and I've done it with academy level, I think you might start off with a 4-3-3, but you might end up with a 3-5 at the back, if you like, or 5 across midfield, and just 2 up front. So you've got different systems that can see you through a game. You've seen that with Pep, you've seen it with Klopp, you've seen it with, and Eddie's no different. So what I love is like you said, it gives you a nice balance of what's going into a game, that you're thinking about what's going on. And listen, we're all going to have the opinion of what the starting 11 should be. And if it keeps winning, just keep the same bloody lineup, because don't complicate it and don't keep changing it. Just keep playing them and keep flogging them until they change and put someone else in.
Brilliant. Fantastic super chat come in there. £20 from Forshezi. Warren, thank you for the calming words post-January transfer window. I can't believe we've got 2 celebrities in one World of Sports show, Wazza and Collingwood. How are the lads? Cheeky bastards. I always get Collingwood. I don't know why. I mean, he's a Mackham. I mean, come on, guys.
Oh, wow.
I know. Absolutely devastated with that one. Very quick as well, because we're coming near to the end of the show. So if you would like to donate to the channel, 50% of everything's going to the charity. All donations, if you put a question on there, we'll go straight to the top. So we'll ask Warren that question, so you've got a better chance of getting your question answered. I do have one that was messaged to me, and I'm going to very quickly ask you though, Warren. You mentioned about Eddie Howe and his substitutions. He got them right against Leeds. We've been saying that Eddie Howe has been very too late in his decisions, but he was forced into making those decisions against Leeds. Do you think he's now learning that he needs to make substitutions a little bit earlier because it worked? Do you think he can learn from that? Because I've always seen in the last few games he's waited too late, and a lot of people have picked up on that.
Yeah, I mean, it's, when we did it against Burnley, when he made late, he sort of like got us over the line. It's only because Watford get the goal in the dying moments, but you could see the game was changing. We was losing a little bit of momentum. Sometimes as a coach, you're trying to trust your players you've got out there. But yeah, I think what he needs to do is, the pressure's so much on him, is like have the plan and coach in the moment. Don't coach what might happen, what could happen. Coaching if you see the game moving. But that's what his assistants are there for. That's what they're there, Jonesy, to help him, to be in his eye that he may not see something that, or you're so focused in the game that you need to say, we've lost some momentum here. Their fullback keeps coming up. Can we nullify that? Yeah, you're always apprehensive that you're winning 1-0 at home. You take off one of your forward players because you feel like, we're getting wave after wave. So, they're all things. Eddie's been doing it long enough, and that's why he's getting paid the money. So yeah, you're right. I think he will analyse that. I think he seems to be articulate enough and astute enough to have a look at himself and break yourself down sometimes and say, well, could I have done that? Where's my coaching staff? Is there a voice that's gonna help me do that? And I think that's where maybe in time he's going to learn to do that. But it also as well, players make substitutions as well. If you get injured or you're not playing well, then you come off. But yeah, that has been something that has been brought up before, and also it's been brought up before when he's had money to spend. It's not really worked out. So that's the nature of the business we're in, But we've got to get behind him and get behind the boys, and then we'll worry about other things going forward. But they're all things as coaches and players you have to take on board.
I'm 100% behind him. I always have been.
He's only been here 3-4 months, hasn't he?
Exactly.
You've got to give him time.
Yeah. Eddie, thank you very much for the $25 super chat there. Lovely messages from at World of
That
Sport
weren't
TV.
Eddie, was it? That weren't Eddie the coach sending it.
Yeah, you never know. We've got a lot of very funny people on our channel who watch us, and they change their pitches to Eddie Howe or Joe Linton and pretend to be the players. It's brilliant. World of Sport TV with Peruvian American roots. Just love hearing about the club history via Mr. Barton. So there's no question there. He just thanks you for coming on and talking about Newcastle. Obviously, you're a Newcastle fan now because you spent so long at the club. So you're an honorary Geordie, as we call you. A question from Twitter for Toon Pauls. He's got a big following. If he was a player today in the modern game, if he thinks he would have to adapt his game to how he played when he was playing. So where the game's changed, do you think your game back then would work in the systems that we have now? Or do you think you would have to adapt your game looking ahead? It's a bit of a strange question because
No, I understand. I don't think you could be so aggressive now. I think because of the nature, I think you ask anyone that played in the 90s, 2000s, as a defender, you thought, well, your first tackle you could sort of get away with. You can't that now. Players go over and say, "Oh, it's my first tackle," but the referees are going to do that. There's areas like that. But my game was predominantly like an athlete. I was able to motor up and down a little bit, trying to play the Kevin Keegan way and Sir Bobby's way, trying to play football the right way, but also mix it in like we did at Wimbledon. We could put our foot in. The problem is we got cameras down the tunnel, so we couldn't get away with what we did at Wimbledon, intimidating people and beating them up in the tunnel. So we couldn't do that. But I do think you'd have to be, and I say it to defenders now with the kids, you can't win every ball. I think when I played, it was like I can win it. I can get my foot in. I can make a stance. I can, because of the reaction you used to get from 52,000 fans. You get your foot in, that place would go electric. You've got to pick and choose your tackles now. You see sometimes what is a good tackle, what is, you get the ball, but you might follow through and get the player. Stuart Pearce always used to tell me that was his best tackle. He'd get the ball, but he'd clean the whole house out. So, that was the whole way of that he would play. So I just think, and I wasn't a dirty player. I wasn't someone that a hard man of football by a long means, but I was physical in the way that I played, and I'd look after myself, and whether that's playing non-league or playing for Wimbledon, that was all part of my game. But I just, the game has changed. It has moved on where you can't win every ball and you can't be as physical. But that's still, you can still have that drive and determination in another way.
Yeah, very, very good answer. There's a good point here made by Tangy. I remember back in the day, Bramble played better when he played alongside Jonathan Woodgate. Maybe Lascelles playing alongside Clark hasn't helped him because he looks better with Shaw. Maybe Byrne too. Sorry, the baby's having a bit of a fit because it wants some milk. I think Bramble only looked good because he played alongside Woodgate, because Woodgate was absolutely world class.
Yeah, I mean, Jonathan was again, it's only through injuries that he would have obviously gone on and had a longer career. I didn't play with Jonathan, but obviously I've watched him enough play. And Titus was, was an athlete. He had that long diagonal that he loved to hit. He got a little bit caught out ball watching as a defender, and relied a little bit on his pace to get him out of trouble. And when you're playing against someone like Henry and that, you can't rely on that because they'll kill you, because they're just quicker and smarter than you. So you can't rely on that. But yeah, there's no doubt. The partnerships that I play with, whether it was with Philip Albert, who was a calming influence on the ball, Peasy, Darren Peacock was able to come in, or Steve Howie, it gets a little bit overlooked with Nikos Dabizas. He had a calming influence. He headed the ball. He wasn't particularly the quickest, but he was a smart player, and he could be a danger from set piece. Putting people next to him made it better. But yeah, going back to what we said, it's lovely to have options. If he's not playing well, or he doesn't see it in training that he looks a bit, nervous or clumsy, then put someone else in. But it's good to have that. But I do echo that Eddie has played 3 at the back, so don't be surprised if he doesn't do that. And Byrne can play on that left-hand side of the 3, so don't be surprised if that happens sometimes, particularly maybe away from home. And that's not sometimes a negative. It can allow you to have more players in the final third, but it just gives you a bit of stability at the back and allows your wing backs or your full backs to squeeze up a little bit more, because Jamal can slide to that right hand side and cover over as a full back. He's quite happy to do that, and you've seen that with Gareth Southgate playing with Carl Walker as a wing back, 3 at the back, and sliding over into an area where he's comfortable. So yeah, if it makes him better, please God, because we're going to need everybody till the end of the season.
Yeah, I agree. And I agree. We said we'd like to play a 3-5-2 potentially with proper wing backs if we had them. Maybe that still could happen, playing away from home and a bit more defensive when we need to. So.
I remember Terry Venables. We was getting ready for Euro 96, and we played the 3 centre halves, Piercy being one and Tony Adams being at the back. And he played Darren Anderton and Steve McManaman as their wing backs at home against. He knew the Dutch would try and push up, or Spain, and he played them as wing backs, knowing that we'd have quite a bit of the ball. So that, again, at home, you could arguably play Sam Maximin and another offensive player on that right-hand side, whether it's Joe Linton or someone a little bit further forward. So, again, sometimes when you say 3 at the back, everyone thinks, that's negative. It doesn't always work out like that. You could have Trippier, Byrne, and there's Shah in the middle, and it makes it nice and solid, and they're both happy going out as fullbacks because that's where they're comfortable playing. So it just gives you a new option. It gives you something to think about.
I mean, we played 3 at the back against Brentford, and it was a 3-3 draw. So it tells you that you can attack, but you can also still lead goals. So it can't be that defensive, can it?
No. I should be a coach, shouldn't I? I should be a coach.
Yeah, you should. Definitely.
I'm wasted.
Laura's got a question there. It's not one that we want to really talk about, but we'll please her because she's a Watford fan and she's joined the Newcastle show. So we really appreciate that. If Newcastle get relegated, how many points do they get? She reckons 120.
We'll be above you, so don't worry about it.
Absolutely brilliant.
Yeah. We'll be above you, don't worry.
Sean, a fan of the show, said any chance you could reach out to Alan Shearer and invite him on, say things like that. We've got a legend on.
Hey, what else? There's only one legend, actually. He is a legend. Yeah. Hey, he won't come on for nothing, I tell you.
I bet he wouldn't. To be fair, we were very lucky. We had Sir Les. I think I mentioned this last time. We had Sir Les come on, and that was incredible. I see Les actually when I went back to England. He looks the same. He definitely should be the next James Bond. Now Daniel Craig's gone. Get Les as a James Bond. He was telling me about when he was at Bolton with his helicopter going to training, and Les could get away with it. Michael Owen, it looked like big time, and you can't do that. You can't. But Les could get away with it. He could park it and then get a car across. So he hasn't changed, Les. He looks $1 million. He does, doesn't he? Getting good at golf as well. I hear he's got an 8 handicap or something like that, which
that was amazing because when he was up there with us, he hated it. And I'll tell you a little fun fact as well. Philip Albert was playing golf, and he didn't realise he was left-handed. For 2 years, he played with right-handed clubs and wondered why he was crap. Then all of a sudden, he tried left-handed, and he was really good. He turned it around. So,
brilliant.
Yeah, who says footballers are not bright?
Well, there's obviously a few that aren't, but they're obviously present class. Definitely smart.
There's one that's on TalkSport that's not the brightest.
Oh God,
that's not the brightest.
One or two, in fact.
There's one or two on TalkSport that aren't the brightest, aren't they? This is your last chance to get a quick question in. If you'd like to donate to the channel, which I said 50% will go to charity. So if you want to get a quick question in before we finish the show, let us know. 4-1-4-1, that's an interesting formation with Shelby behind Joe and Bruno.
Yeah, could be like Ted Rogers, 3-2-1. There you go. Could be anything, couldn't it? For the older people, you remember Ted Rogers. The other ones have not got a clue what I just said. The younger ones, go and Google Ted Rogers. Dusty bin, 3-2-1. There you go.
Just don't watch him because he weren't very good.
No, exactly. Yeah, but yeah. Again, we can talk about all day long systems, but just win a game. That's all we got to do.
Yeah, exactly. It doesn't matter if we do 1-0, 4-0, just 3 points.
4-0 would be nice.
Important thing. It would be, wouldn't it?
So nervous sitting there with my son the other day when it was 1-0 against Leeds. I was so nervous. The Burnley one was the same. Let us have a little bit of a breather where we can join. 2 or 3-0 would be good.
I agree with that.
Definitely. Yeah, I mean, my heart was pounding against Leeds when we went 1-0 because I thought we're going to sit back. But fair play to us, we didn't sit back. We did try and score. Willock should have scored. It was a great save from their young goalkeeper.
He looks at it looked like he got his mojo back in the second half. Willock,
I agree with that.
He looked a bit shy at the beginning, but he's another kid that can. Last year he was brilliant for us. So maybe with a better environment and a better system and a bit more quality around him, he can get back to doing what he does and score goals. And don't overthink it. Just play with energy, play with desire, play with freedom, play with aggression. Don't be frightened to make a mistake. It's easier said than done. But he's a good player. He's shown that before.
Absolutely brilliant. I mean, he was for that 6 months. Everything went right for him, didn't it? And we just need something to land to his feet again, and that might just kickstart his season. So he might be a bit of a Iosi Perez. Was always terrible in the first half of the season and great in the second half of the season. So we'll hold on to that hope. Last question for Warren before we finish the show up. Here it comes. So Warren, who would you support if Wimbledon ever played Newcastle after being fondly remembered by both clubs? Thanks for your great service as well. It's a nice little question on the end.
Yeah, that is a good one. But Newcastle for me. Actually, as a kid, I was an Arsenal fan. I was born around the corner from Highbury in Islington. Used to go over the North Bank with my brother and my dad over to Highbury when the likes of David O'Leary, Liam Brady was over there. I'm not not going to go away from that. But it's funny when you start playing in the Premier League and you play against them. And just as I said, I think, gentlemen, I said my time and the way that people were with me and my wife and my kids, I have a great affinity with the people up there. And it's not just supporting Newcastle, it's supporting the city, the people, because I just know what it means to everybody up there. It's a special place. So as much as I love AFC Wimbledon and they're back at their Player Lane, which we had great memories were, and we had so great times there. We'd finished the game. Quick story about our Player Lane. We finished the game. The chairman, Stanley Reid, who was actually a chair. The owner was Sam Aman, but he was Stanley Reid. He was 92. He used to always wear his boating jacket and his tie, very London, and very artistic gentleman. So we'd go into the Players' Lounge afterwards. He'd invite us up to the bar, and then at 8:30 there was a nightclub that opened behind one of the stands. So we used to go in, up, round, and down into there. So we had a lot of good times at Player Lane when we was there. It obviously changed when we went to Selhurst Park, but that was me growing up through that time with Vinny and Fash. And you couldn't leave until they told you. People like Mick Hartford there, you weren't going until they said you was allowed to leave. So we had some good times there. But Wimbledon was a great time. But Newcastle for me is my club now. The kids keep an eye out as well. And it is more because the way that they treated me and the way that they made me feel being there. And as I said, it was great playing at Highbury, scoring against Arsenal and reminiscing as a kid being there. But it's just a special place. It's just special people, special place. And it's hard to come away from that. And that's why, really, gentlemen, 2 years ago, I just felt the club was being kicked all over the place and being laughed at and being bullied at. And that's why I stood up. And although I'm 5,000 miles away and the sun's shining every day, I couldn't have it because I know what it means to the people. I know what it means to people when they're getting in their car, going to work, and that, the whole Premier League and people are laughing at me. It ain't fair. It ain't funny. And that's why I'm so happy not for me or for Al or for Rob or for Shay or anybody, but for the people and the fans, because I know what you've gone through for 14 years of having to suffer that, and now all you want is your club back. And Kevin said it, you will get it back, and you have got it back, and it looks like you've got owners that understand you, and that speaks volumes of what can go forward. So yeah, so it's a bit of a long-winded answer, but Wimbledon's a big part of my club, and I love them, and it was great. But for me, it just meant so much for me to be there, and it was an honour to be part of that football club. It was an honour to wear the armband. It was an honour to be associated with it, and hopefully the players understand that, because there's no better feeling when you win at that place and you're doing well. It's people have spoken about the best atmospheres and how great it is up there. They've only just the tip of the iceberg. We used to have that every year for 7-8 years. We had it, the noise, the atmosphere, and people like Alan Shearer couldn't wait to get out and play. This is Alan, Gary Speed, Rob Lee. They loved it. Tino, and even David Giannotto only had a couple of years up there. They love it. Big Les. They love the people. They love the club. It just smells football. It involves you, and that's what we love. We can't have that. We've had our time, but I just love being around, and that's why I went back. I just love walking around the city, and there's black and white everywhere in football, and sometimes it can suffocate you. People like John Dale Thomason, it was too much. He felt it suffocated him, but we thrived in that, and the people love you for that. Because they all want the club to do well. Because if the club does well, the city does well. The city does well, the people are doing well, and that's the bottom line of it all. Because that's Absolutely. The football club. That's the football club. That's the city. That. Everyone knows that. If it's going well, and it looks like, as I said, the new owners understand that. They know they've got into that. They've tapped into that and understand what it's like. And the fans will love them for that. Yeah, they're going to shout at them if they lose a game. But the bottom line is they love them because they respected the people, and that was the first thing that come back when the old ownership left. He didn't respect them, but what they felt straight away that someone respected us. They respected my football club, because that football club is the heartbeat of that city, and the heartbeat of that football club is the fans. That's the bottom line. There's no grey areas. It is black and white. That's it, and that's as soon as you understand that and buy into that, you've got it. And then that's something magical. And that's what Kevin had. That's what Sir Bobby had. And that's what Alan Shearer taught me. That's what Peter Beardsley showed. That's what Lee Clark. That's what all these people, and me being a Cockney and a Londoner, going into that environment and understanding it has brought me into my life. I treat my kids now. This is what it means. This is what it means to do something. When you work hard at what you want to try and do. Two of my kids want to be players. It ain't going to be given to you. Like the people that worked hard Monday to Friday, whatever they was doing, they was working hard to make sure on a weekend that we give them a good time. And that's a lot of responsibility for a player, but it's fucking great when you do it. It's great when you finish a game and there's 52,000 people screaming and shouting, and they're making their way into the town and they're going to have the best time, the best night of their week. And that's great to do that. So we're on that way. I know it's a bit of a long-winded answer, but that's how I feel. And it's something that will never go, never go away from me, because once it's in you, it's in you.
Absolutely beautiful words. That long answer for a very short question. Yeah. Unbelievable. We're entranced, enjoying it, loving hearing it, because you don't hear that from players these days, really, do you? And the owners are very lucky. I mean, if you look at War Flags and everything they did for the Spurs game when they were there for the first time, we put our trust in them, and we're backing them fully, and I think they understand that and they see that. So it's going to be a great relationship between club and fans again.
As fans as well, did you feel it was time for them now to show their worth to the owners? I think, as I said, we as fans had got behind them. We couldn't do anything in October, November. It could have been quite easy to say, we can't buy, we can't get players in. I think that affection that was shown to the owners made them even more determined to go out and spend. I can't speak for them, but I just felt it from here is that our fans have given you so much love and respect, and they're putting their heart and soul in front of you, going, you got to help us. And the owners could not turn away from that. And I don't think they wanted to. Please don't make me say that I didn't think they wanted to, but I think it was such overwhelming love for them that they thought, we can't let these down. We can't let these people down. And, you know, we could pick and choose and say, well, you should have got more money. You could, but to do what they've done in a short space of time is something special. And even with them going to the ladies' game at the weekend, going to support that. You know, everyone else is in Saudi Arabia, they're away or they're flying back or they was on the airplane or wherever they was. You know, someone goes and does that and speaks to them and have a picture and be around. That speaks volumes about that, and it will only snowball. It will only snowball to that. It'll be a wave of emotion and wave of trust. You trust both ways now. I think they trust us, and we trust them. So if you can get that going, you got half a chance.
I think what sold it to me, Warren, was the Man City game where we were 4 down, and the Gallagher end flags all went up, and the whole crowd started cheering, and we were 4 down. And I think the owners in the stands thought, good grief, what have we got here? You know,
no, you're probably right, Billy. They probably thought, wow, we knew we had something special, and I was, you know, and I was like that. I remember being in February in '95. We played Wimbledon against Newcastle, and I was having a call down with Robbie O in the middle after the game. The stadium was empty, and I said, imagine playing with this lot. You know, that was only when it was 36,000 people. And then we went and met Arthur Cox at the Gosford Park afterwards. That's where he was staying, and just chatting about football and chatting about the football club. And it always stuck with me that, you know, you imagine playing with this lot. And I remember walking out our first game against Coventry at home with Les, and the whole stadium was black and white. And it took you back because you knew that the fans supported the football club. You know, English fans are great. They get behind their team, they travel away, they support them. But it was something different than that. You know, it was something different than just people supporting you. It was like they was giving themselves to us. And now it was our responsibility to give something back to them. And that's quite powerful when you get that emotion. And we failed, you know, at the end of the day, we failed. We come second twice. But that emotion will never go away. That bond that you have with someone will never go away. And we get times that, you know, you're 12 points clear, why didn't you? And then we have to put our heads down and say, yeah, no, we messed up. We lost it. But we give everything we had. When I walked away in 2002, when Bobby said you can go to Derby, I'd given everything. I'd love to give more, but I had nothing more to give because I'd done everything I could. And he was absolutely right to get rid of me then. At the time, I was like, nah, I've still got a few more years to go. He was absolutely right because I'd given everything. I couldn't give any more. And then it was time to move on and get Aaron in or Kieran Dyer or whoever fellas was coming in. And that's something that's always with me. And, you know, no one can ever take that away from you.
Yeah, I absolutely agree. And the point on the owners that Billy mentioned, I think they always wanted to come in and do well. I think after they saw the love from the fans, they wanted to go that extra mile just because of how it was. One very last quick question, because I know we've gone over the time and that, but there was a question that came in there. And it wasn't really a question, it was more of a statement. And I have to ask, do you know Paul Merson well or not?
Me? I know well
personally.
enough. I know. Yeah, I would know Merce with England when I've been around him. And obviously played against Paul for a long, long time.
Yeah, I have to ask, what's his problem with Newcastle? Because someone's put a comment there, and apparently this is a Paul Merson quote. Arsenal have had a better transfer window than Newcastle. They've signed nobody and got rid of Aubameyang to Barcelona, but yet they've had a better window. What is his issue with Newcastle? His dad's a Geordie, isn't he? He's a Newcastle fan.
Maybe he's going through one of them times with Merce that he's on that slippery slope. I don't know. I remember a quick story with Merce, and again, he's a colourful character, and you know he was a very flamboyant player. But I was at Derby and he was at Portsmouth, and it was another article that he'd done about his problems, about the drinking, the gambling, and things like that. And maybe I shouldn't do it, but it's my humour. And I've known Paul a long time. I flicked the coin up and he went heads, and I went, I thought you'd given up. And he was like, he started cracking up. He went, I thought you stop gambling. I thought you stop gambling doing it. And he was like, oh, you don't do that too. And he started thinking about things and like that, because he was like, I go heads. I went, well, you giving up gambling? What are you asking for? It's my turn to call it. So he, I think, you know, the angle. I don't know, but I do like Merce. He is a likable fella, but he has obviously got and maybe it's an angle they're going through. I don't know. You know, that's why
maybe he played for Middlesbrough.
Yeah, but they was never our competition. Was they?
No, but we were theirs.
No. They was never. It was always they was the third ones, weren't they? It was either the Mackhams and us. Well, it was either us or then they hated us, and then the Middlesbrough were sort of down there.
Yeah,
they wasn't. We used to beat them anyway, so it wasn't an issue.
Absolutely agree with that. But that's the end of the show. Honestly, Warren, thank you so much for coming on again. It's much appreciated. We've got a few donations in there for charity as well, which is fantastic. And like I said, what I'll do is I'll do the £50 to the Sir Bobby Robson Foundation on behalf of you coming on again, because you've never asked for anything, and it's incredible that you've given all these Newcastle fans, including ourselves, the time and day to come and talk to us about our beloved club. And again, thank you for sticking up for us in that horrible time. You know, there was only you who really spoke out at the time, and then more people got on the bandwagon afterwards. You started the ball rolling, and we actually can't thank you enough for doing that. And it's why I've always wanted to speak to you, because you know what you did then really did set the catalyst of this club moving forward, and the owners realizing there's something special about this football club. So thank you again for doing that. And hopefully we'll have you on again in the future, maybe, if you don't mind me stalking you as much as I have been.
Yeah, no problem. No problem. I mean what I say. So yeah, no problem there. Pleasure. You're
an absolute star. Right, guys, coming up, I've got no idea what's coming up, but I know we'll be doing a watch along on Saturday, because we've got a big relegation battle game between Burnley and Watford. Saturday we're going to do a watch along for that, because it's an interest to our club. So keep an eye out on the channel. Please subscribe, please donate. Like I said, all the money from tonight's going to go, 50% of it to charity and £50 to the Bobby Robson Foundation. So it's been an absolute pleasure, Warren, and we'll see you again very soon, hopefully.
Thanks, gentlemen.